a lot, Jane, for joining us today at GAIM. Could you explain a bit more what you do at PAAMCO and how is the relationship with your investors?
Right. Our investors at PAAMCO are very large pension plans around the globe and some sovereign wealth funds. So they're large institutional investors with very strong fiduciary responsibilities. What we do is work closely with them to build mostly customized portfolios of hedge funds to help them meet their retiree obligations.
All right. Okay. So you strongly believe that one of your key roles as well is fiduciary role, and that it's very important that you really support your clients in that perspective.
Yes, very much. The fiduciary perspective is very different and new for hedge funds. Hedge funds originated out of the entrepreneurial spirit of the high net worth family. But as institutional investors have become intrigued by the good returns posted here and looking at the other capital investments, we wanted to make investments. So therefore what we've brought over is our fiduciary infrastructure.
I see, okay. All right, and that's definitely for them a sense of comfort, something they might not be able to do themselves, basically.
Exactly, and what the fiduciary structure does is it puts obligations on the large-scale investors to really understand what they're giving their money to have a way to evaluate it, to make sure there's prudent governance, to make sure that they understand what it's investing in. And frankly, what it results in is to be well-researched before you make an investment decision, but also well-researched before you terminate a decision.
Definitely. How do you see basically how it evolved? You mentioned that hedge funds managers are not really, I wouldn't say compliance driven, but I mean it's not really their culture. Is it changing, or is it also, first, is it changing? And second, do you see a big difference between the big players and the more, medium-sized players? Where do you see the evolution, basically?
If you go back historically, in 1987 we were putting pension plans into hedge funds. But what we did is we accepted the setup that was developed in the high net worth world. You had to do that. You were a pioneer. You could list on your hands the number of large institutions investing in hedge funds. What's happened over the years is people have continued to explore the area, and while in some respects the numbers have declined, they're still very good to being just invested in the stock market or just buying bonds. And so more money has moved over. There are several large plans that have close to now 5 or 10% in hedge funds. As they become more accepted, what's happened is the larger investors have decided to say, what is it about this strategy that prevents us from having the standard governance mechanism? And there's nothing, it's just unfamiliarity.
All right.
And so it's been a big education effort. The more middle-sized pension plans haven't had the market power to do that.
Okay. And on the hedge fund management side, do you see as well the bigger player really now really up to date with all this governance issue? Do you see some sort of evolution basically on the hedge fund world?
Yes, very much. And on the positive side, it's like a light switch.
Okay.
Because once you explain it, there are trade-offs. It's not better or worse than before. It's just different. And sometimes people, once they understand why it's different, they tend to accept it. And the difference is the money tends to move slower, so it's harder to get. You definitely have to think more about how you structure the investments before you get the money. But on the other side, I think the institutional investors are more clear about what they're looking for and willing to explain what they mean, and frankly, to stand by what they mean.
Would you agree in that sense to say that the power has shifted from hedge funds managers to more investors?
Not completely, but it's very much in the process.
It's in the process.
I think.
So it's really, as you mentioned, an education process.
Yes.
And I know that you're very close as well to Kaya.
Yes.
Which is doing a fantastic job in just also bringing a lot of education. So that's probably a complementary role in that perspective.
Very complementary. One of the issues in a new area is how to find more objective sources for information. I think Kaya's done a wonderful job of that. And if you don't even want to take all the exams, they just have their new first level book out.
Okay.
And I bought it just to review certain subjects. It's actually well written. A very well written book.
Definitely. Okay, well, many thanks for your time. Again, governance is a critical issue in investing in a hedge fund, so I'm glad we had the occasion to have Jane's feedback on how it is evolved in the last years. Thank you.